Hi, welcome to Punchline Talks, the business breakfast briefers. I'm Mark Owen. Each week I invite a panel of business experts to review the morning newspapers, find out what's happened in their own individual business and their own individual business sectors, and finally, what's caught their eye in this week's Punchline. Before I start, I just want to thank our fantastic sponsors, Hayswood's Accountants and Business Advisors. And I say each week, we couldn't do the show without them, and we really couldn't. Okay, let's meet the panel this week. We've got Chris Pockett, he's the Head of Communications at Renishaw. There is Gloucestershire's largest private sector employer with a turnover approaching 700 million. They employ 2,600 staff here in the county, and they are a company that, let's be honest, we can be really proud of here as well. And they're connected to the Olympics. So we'll find out from Chris all about that. We've got Clare Honeyfield. She's the owner and founder of Made In Stroud. It started out as a series of markets in 1991, and now they're a really fabulous, famous retail shop in Kendrick Street in Stroud. It's a destination for unique artisan gifts. And Clare believes that Stroud has become the tourist hotspot. So we'll find out from her all about that as well, and about the shop too. We've got Dane. He's the newly appointed CEO of SGS Academy Trust, sponsored by South Gloucestershire and Stroud College. It's currently made up of three schools: Forest High, Berkeley Green, UTC, and Pegasus School in Patchway, South Gloucestershire. The trust has a turnover around 8 million with a staff of 150 staff, and 800 pupils. So we'll find out how Alan is getting on with all that and what's happening in the schools as well. And then finally, we've got Lynette Barrett, is the Chief Executive of Gloucestershire-based charity National Star, which supports young people with complex disability. National Star has an average turnover of 46 million, employs 1,250 staff, and it really is truly an amazing place. I've been there a number of times as well. Okay, let's start with you, Lynette. Oh, no, sorry, I better do the papers first. I'm all a mix. Hold on a second. Thank you. Right, what's making the headlines? So, The Guardian, Chancellor to reveal 20 billion shortfall in public finances. The Daily Telegraph, Chancellor to reveal 19 billion black hole in finances. The Eye, Starmer warned against pension tax hike for 7 million savers. The Daily Mail, Labour's £300 re-energy bill saving is a lie, says the Daily Mail. The Mirror, stab frenzy soldier's hero wife. And the Times, hospitals have gone unchecked for 10 years, says the Times. And the Daily Star, the one where Jennifer Aniston gives a staunch defence of cat ladies. Okay, always love the Daily Star. Lynette, let's start with you this morning. Thanks for joining the Punchline Talks. What have you picked out from the papers, please?
Morning. So, just looking at the papers today, just going back to what was just noted there. So the inadequacies of the Care Quality Commission, they're the regulator looking at, how hospitals, dentists, social care providers, etc. are the quality. And some places are going uninspected for 10 years or more. So I know there's been a change at the top of the Care Quality Commission, and I think there's going to be some significant reform to how they regulate and inspect, and clearly there needs to be. And then looking at the massive hole in the public finances, which we can which has been in most of the papers as well recently. And looking at sort of the manifesto around Labour's manifesto around the care reform, what does there's very little said about social care and the massive reform that requires to be able to also support health. So it'd be really interesting to see exactly what's going to come of that, because there seems to be lots of problems being pointed out, but absolutely no solutions.
It's funny you should mention. I'm glad you did, because the front page is 20 billion, and now, and it seems like Labour is, the government is laying up these problems, aren't they? It's almost like, because it's an audit that they've done and finding this 20 billion, and they haven't actually said what they're going to do about it. But I think they're moving towards the taxes. Let's be honest about it. Is that how you feel about it, Lynette?
Yeah, absolutely. It feels very much that they're setting the scene ready for their reasoning behind whatever they're going to do that possibly won't be seen as as positively by the public in terms of taxation, etc. But yeah, as I say, they're layering the problems very clearly without talking about any of the solutions. Which I think, you can't talk about the solutions without actually explaining how that's going to be paid for, can you? So I think at the moment they're just building the scene, ready to explain what needs to be done and then how that's going to be paid for.
I think it's a very clever ploy, actually, if you ask me, and you can see it, just see it coming down the tracks. But who are they going to tax more? That's the big thing. And let's be honest, every single sector is screaming for money. The care sector you are, the education sector you are,
yeah,
engineering, and every single sector you could possibly think of. Thanks, Lynette. That's brilliant. Let's go over to you, Chris. What have you picked out for us, please?
Good morning, Mark. Good morning, everyone. So I've gone with very much an Olympics focus, picking up on a couple of stories in the Times today on the Olympics. The first one, which you can hopefully see there. So yeah, this is around the fact that for the first time ever in the Olympics, certainly the modern Olympics, we obviously probably have no stats from the original Olympics, but the modern Olympics, that of the 10,500 athletes that were competing over the next few weeks, that for the first time, exactly half of them will be women. And the article contrasts that with the last time that the Paris Olympics took place in 1924, so 100 years ago, when only 4.4% of athletes were women. So, huge changes. Also notes the 2012 Olympics, which I must admit I hadn't heard before, but they were described as the women's games because for the first time, each nation competing actually had female athletes or female participants. So, yeah, an interesting development or continued development, and obviously very good to see that today. Also, and there's a lot, it's quite an irony to this. It's on the front cover of the Times. Team GB raced to fly in their own chef after Paris food boycott. The fact that many athletes have been complaining about the quality of the food in Paris. So, a bit of an irony there that the British team are flying in its own chef to actually cater for its own athletes because of the inadequacy of the food that's been served in France. So a bit of a sort of reversal there. Probably not great for sort of a French national pride either, but complaints about the lack of high protein food availability, lack of availability of eggs, chicken, certain carbohydrates, and Sodexo Live, who are the main caterers for the Olympics, having to cater for 40,000 meals a day, have said that they're going to address it. But there was a quote from one of the British competitors who said it's not even possible to get a piece of chicken. So hence why Team GB are flying in a chef to cater for the increased demand that it's facing at its own training camp near Paris. So those are my sort of two stories. There is a third actually around some. It's a great opportunity to take industrial action. And the very hotel that's been used by the International Olympic Committee, the IOC, for which apparently over the period of the Olympics, they're paying £18.5 million to use this hotel, that the staff there are now gone on strike. So they've got pretty good bargaining positioning over this period. So that's my three Olympic stories. And I'll give the Gloucestershire connection, the Renishaw connection to the Olympics when I do a bit of a company update later.
I was surprised. I thought we were going to mention bed bugs, actually. Bed bugs and rats. That was one of the problems they were flagging up before. Or the pollution in the River Seine. It's not gone very well for them, has it? Thanks ever so much for that, Chris. Let's go over to you, Alan. Great to see you again. Thanks for coming on the show. What have you picked out for us, please?
Thanks for having me back on, Mark. I really appreciate it. So I've gone with some more really worrying figures this week about teacher training numbers and recruitment to teaching. So the headline in Schools Week, which I know everyone will be an avid reader of who's watching today, is that trainee teacher dropout rate doubles in 4 years. So currently 8% of trainee teachers drop out of their training before qualifying, so therefore don't come into the kind of pipeline of teachers in the sector. And that's off the back of an under recruitment year on year by the Department for Education of trainees of about 14,000. So this year the target was 35,000, 21,000 trainees were recruited, and then 8% of those not coming through, or more probably next year, really is really worrying for anyone trying to recruit in a school at the moment, state or independent. In our little academy trust, we've got 3 schools, and they're all quite unique and interesting propositions. And we've been rated, thanks to some very hard work on our part, but we have fully staffed schools. We don't have any vacancies in September, but we're very unusual. And the work and investment that takes year on year inevitably takes people away from other frontline work with children and young people and so on. So I think linking back to what Lynette was saying, really, the ground is being laid for, all the challenges the new government's facing. And I think when there is talk about, sort of the £20 billion black hole and so on, a lot of the focus around education might be about the National Pay Award for teachers. But that's a drop in the ocean compared to the much bigger crisis around there not being enough teachers. And that's not just about pay, it's about many things.
Say, Alan, why why they are not continuing, this 8% dropout? What's the main cause for that?
There is no one single cause. I think it is, many people sort of joining with an idealistic view of what they're going to achieve and maybe finding that they can't do that. I think it's also because there is a shortage. Sometimes, courses having to recruit people who wouldn't normally be recruited and may not last the distance. All those things combined. And I think also, people, perhaps being happier to give something a try and not carry on if it's not for them. And that's wonderful, isn't it? And that's how it should be. But off the back of such a shortage, it's really worrying right now.
Especially when you think about how much it costs to go to university. 3 years to go to university, £50,000 for training, then all the work that goes behind it, and then to drop out.
Yeah, absolutely. And teacher training is funded by the government in much part for many courses, and it's a real worry.
Okay, well, thanks ever so much for that really good insight there. Hi, Claire, great to see you.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks ever so much. I've got my Stroud mug here. I just want to say I bumped into Claire, by the way, when I was delivering the magazines. And I managed to buy a magazine as well. We did a nice story about it. So what have you picked out for us, Claire?
I've picked out from the Times a story about allotment holders being asked to remove their beehives or be evicted from their allotment. This is in Southampton City Council, and I think it highlights the need for a sustainability policy for local authorities, which helps officers to make good decisions, which will encourage biodiversity.
You have one of the greenest councils, in the country, actually, in Stroud. They've been going for a long time. Do you feel the Stroud Council, being so green, that they do actually, they are very helpful on those things?
Well, the town council agree. The district council are a Rainbow Alliance, actually. But yes, I think there's a lot of action around community sustainability and environmental sustainability in Stroud. And obviously we have Dale Vince here, who's a great spokesperson for renewables. So I think the area attracts people who are interested in sustainability for sure, yes.
And have you picked out another story for us as well? Anything else?
The other story I've picked up is about representation and democracy, which is a story about the new voter ID law, which was brought in by the last government. So it was the first time that voters were required to have photo ID, and interestingly, 6.5% of voters who are people of colour were turned away from polling booths at least once, compared with 2.5% of white voters. So this is a story about 50 eminent artists act as campaigners from minority ethnic communities, or actually the ethnic majority in the world, who have sent an open letter to Keir Starmer to ask that voter ID is reviewed. Obviously, there was a lot of concern about people who are less resourced being excluded from voting as well, because they might not have a passport, for example, people on lower incomes, people who are experiencing health challenges and so on. Yeah.
No, I think I'd look into that. What paper was that, Claire?
In The Guardian.
Okay,
page-
all right. Okay, well, thanks ever so much for that. I didn't know it was such a high number, actually, 6.5%. It's very worrying, obviously,
Yeah.
you know, and you're right, for democracy, it's really
Yeah.
important.
It's very important, and I think because my dad was because I'm a second generation economic migrant, my dad came from Ireland, I'm very aware of the barriers that he faced when he moved here. So yeah, I think it's important that we use our privilege to speak up for our fellow citizens.
Okay, well, thank you very much for that. Okay, Lynette, let's get you back in, please, and talk about the National Star. I absolutely love the National Star, by the way. I've been there a number of times. Fantastic restaurant there as well. What's the big issues that you're facing at the moment at the National Star? Because it's all, let's be honest, you have to raise an awful lot of money to keep it going. I get regular letters, you know, from you guys asking for funds. You know, what type of money are you looking for now?
Yeah, so we're just about to look at our sort of second phase of our Build a Brighter Future project. So we completed the first project back in September 23. It opened for 12 students to live there as student accommodation. So they've spent the last year there, made a huge difference to their lives. And we're just looking at the second phase of that building development now. And trying to really pin down exactly what is going to be required, not just now, it's future proofing, making sure that whatever we're developing has got the flexibility to serve our beneficiaries in 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. So we're looking at that side. So there will be a fundraising relaunch campaign of the Build a Brighter Future Fund, etc. But I think overall, I think the main challenges that we face is you know, we also receive funds for our placements through public monies, so through education, social care, health, and those local authority budgets are getting tighter and tighter. And there doesn't seem to be a clear way forward. And I think the difficulty is not only does that affect young people getting good quality specialist education, if that's so required for them, and specialist further education, but also those transition opportunities for some of our most vulnerable people in society moving into adult life. Those transition opportunities are diminishing, really. So lots of providers are leaving the sector because they can't deliver a quality service for the funds that are available. So there's a huge withdrawal from the social care and health sector, and that has a huge impact on young people that attend National Star that are looking for supported living accommodation, maybe some for residential care, looking for work placements, and need that for them to have a good quality of life going forward. For their adult years. So they're leaving colleges like National Star and other specialist college providers around the country with fear, concern, anxiety, rather than that excitement about what the next phase of their life is going to bring. And I think that's an area that we're hugely concerned about, not just for those that are with us now, but those that are coming through. And there are still so many young adults with disabilities and complex needs that are without provision. They are at home with parents, unable to unable to go out, unable to access a community, and that has a huge impact on not only that young person but also their wider family. Really difficult.
I also feel that work placements, as few and fewer of them are working from, carry on working from home, the businesses themselves don't have the opportunities to offer people work placements.
Absolutely, as we've seen that shift post-pandemic really to that sort of remote working. That's difficult for any young person, not just those with disabilities that we work with, but any young person coming through to schools and colleges and universities to look for work experience and work placements like they would have had, you know, 5, 6, 7 years ago. A lot of that is disappearing. So yeah, I think we need to really think carefully about that and what that means for our workforce and our society in years to come. Because I think what is quite clear, and I was at an event yesterday with other leaders of businesses and organisations around the county, is that seeing quite a change in terms of the people that are coming in, entering into our workforce now, especially in particular around those being able to interact with customers and that confidence in some of those more sort of professional but social situations.
No, to be honest with you, this is something that we hear more and more of. You know, every time that we have these panels, actually, it's about young people and they don't have those sort of soft skills, shall we call them. Thanks ever so much for that, Lynette. It gives me an awful great opportunity to bring Chris in as well, because Chris, obviously, Renishaw has a mountain of apprenticeships every year. You take on an awful lot of people as well. How many apprenticeships are you offering this year?
I don't think we finalised the numbers yet, but it's usually between 60 and 80.
60 and 80, and work placements
usually around
as well.
80 to 100 graduate placements or positions as well, plus industrial placements and summer placements as well. It's normally in the order of about 250, 270 early careers opportunities per year.
Wow, that's a hell of a lot. And as that's, you kind of stayed that pretty steady, isn't it, over the years as well?
Yeah, and you know, it's the one thing that our numbers, our overall global employee numbers are pretty static, actually, about 5,200, and have been for a couple of years now. And actually, our growth is very much at our entry level early careers pipeline. That's very much where our growth is. So we're trying to promote more people internally. And part of that is because, frankly, like all businesses, it's really difficult to find experienced staff. It's obviously, Alan's talked about the challenges within the educational sector, but it's true of all sectors, skills shortages, which in part actually helps Renishaw's business, because skills in the engineering manufacturing sector it has been a challenge for years, and it's a challenge even in those countries where you'd imagine they wouldn't be a challenge, even in places like China, which is Renishaw's largest market currently. There's tremendous issues there. They've got a declining population, declining workforce. So that drives the need for automation. And our products help manufacturers around the world to automate their processes. And that's a fundamental thing of what we offer, really. So actually, we're hit on the one side, it causes challenges, but actually it gives us some business opportunities as well. And the increasing drive for automation because of the need to reduce costs, because obviously businesses and input costs are increasing all the time, salary costs, energy costs, etc. So they're looking to reduce costs as much as they can. So automation is one way of doing that, and making themselves generally more productive, more efficient. So those sort of things are helping Renishaw, but we have the same challenges. Clearly, our input costs are rising, especially our labour costs. Like most businesses, labour costs are the biggest single cost within the business. So we have to try to do more with the people that we have, and so we're looking all the time at how we can increase our productivity, not just in the areas like manufacturing where we're already pretty productive, although we're bringing much more automation. There's much more of a focus of automation, especially in our assembly operations. So our operations at Woodchester near Stroud, and also our site at Miskin in South Wales, to west of Cardiff. So we're looking at more and more automation, but just generally across the business, how can we be more efficient? How can we do better with the resources that we have?
Okay, well, thanks ever so much for that, Chris. Very, very quickly, I'm going to give you 15 seconds. Tell us all about your Olympic bike.
Okay, so the British Cycling Team GB track cyclists will be using bikes that have been manufactured. Part of them, the key components have been manufactured right here in Wootton Under Edge in Gloucestershire, using
Absolutely
our metal
fantastic.
3D printing technology.
Well, we'll keep an eye out for that. Any idea when the race is on?
5th of August, the first track is 5th to 11th of August in the Velodrome in Paris.
Now, I knew that you'd know that. Okay, thanks so much for that. Okay, Alan, let's talk about you, new CEO of this trust.
Yep.
And what's the difference of being the sort of managing director of one school? Now you've got three to look after.
Probably the biggest difference is I have to line manage head teachers, and having been a head teacher for 14 years, I know they're a tricky bunch. So that's that's one difference. I think the biggest difference and the real joy is looking at how the schools can work together and support each other in ways that really benefit the children and young people who go there. And like I said earlier, I think we've got three very different sort of unique schools. But the expertise they each have and the wish to support others is great. And generally, multi-academy trusts that succeed and have been successful since this whole sort of movement began have really harnessed the power of collaboration between their schools. So yeah, it's that wider responsibility really that's the difference.
And do you work closely with businesses as well, or if business people are watching this, is there a way that they can help you?
Yeah, I mean, going back to sort of an earlier point, sort of in Lynette's discussion, I mean, offering work placements to young people is always hugely valuable. So at Forest High School, which is our kind of mainstream secondary school, our year 10s will do work experience for a week every summer. And we've been really lucky to help them get some great work placements, but it's increasingly challenging in areas that are becoming more and more sort of work at home based, obviously. And then our the UTC at Berkeley Green, which is sort of hugely vocational in its approach. We've got some really good links there, including with Renishaw. But the more of those we can have for the benefit of the youngsters, the better.
What sort of particular sectors are you finding it difficult to get kids into?
So it's generally, I think, sort of the more professionalized sectors, I guess. So things like architecture, for example, getting people work placements in architecture firms is really tricky because there's been a huge growth in people working from home in those. So sort of, I suppose, perhaps more traditionally office-based kind of sectors where the office no longer is the hub of what's happening.
No, without a shadow of a doubt. When I go out and deliver magazines on a Friday and a Monday, sometimes these big industrial estates are completely empty. It's quite frightening, actually. I wouldn't like to sit on a big land bank of commercial property. That's my personal view. Thanks ever so much for that, Alan. Okay, let's get you back in there, Claire.
Good
So I'm just going to
morning.
bring you back in. Hey there, Claire. So, I mean, Made in Stroud. Can you tell us a bit of an overview of the shop? I'm going to try and find I'm going to share the screen here because I've got on here, I've got your website. Hopefully we can see this. That's outside the shop.
Nice.
How long have you been trading from there, Claire?
So I started the Made in Stroud Makers Market in the early 90s, in 1991. And after that, went traveling around Europe for a year with my family, my young children. And when I returned, there was a community planning conference in Stroud, where the district council, who were way ahead of their time for the early 90s, actually asked the people of Stroud what they would like to see in Stroud. And people overwhelmingly said they would like to see Made in Stroud. So I worked with the district and town councils. We had a leisure and tourism officer then. So I worked with the districts and town councils. We identified a site, which was the Cornhill, and I started Stroud Farmers Market on the 3rd of July 1999. And when I had been running that for 18 months, there was a change in the tax laws around freelance working. I was working freelance in an environmental charity in Stroud and I had to find my own office, which seems strange now because now everyone is co-working and hot desking. So because I had to find my own office, I saw this empty property, which was to let, and the makers had been asking me for many years to open a shop. So yeah, so I decided to take the risk and open the shop and have my market HQ here.
Wow. And is there a particular product that sells extremely well in the shop?
Yeah, I mean, it's a gift shop, so the majority of our customers are buying gifts. Yeah, we have some bestsellers, yes.
You're not going to tell us which one, what they are. What's the best-selling product?
Of course, I'm not going to tell you now.
Okay. I mean, it's such an eclectic mix. It's actually a very beautiful shop, by the way, when you go in there, and there's so much stuff in there.
Yeah.
Do most of the guys then, everybody has to come from Stroud, the Stroud area?
So we work with 240 makers. They are largely based in the Stroud district, yeah, and we work individually with each maker. So we have 240 ongoing relationships with the suppliers. They deliver by bicycle, on foot, by car. We deal directly with each of them.
Wow, 240, that's amazing. Wow.
Yeah, and some of them we work on their product development with them. Some of them are very much led by their own design process.
Yeah, and it's so hard work as well, trying to make money out of that sort of freelance thing like this. Let's be honest, the amount of time they've got to put into a product might not be actually the amount of money they make from it sometimes.
Yeah, we really encourage the makers to charge enough for their products, and we've always had a policy that the makers set their own prices because of that. Yeah.
And now, of course, that you have your website, that must be a help as well to help them sell it all over the world.
Yeah, so over lockdown, when we weren't permitted to open, we developed the online shop, and we did free local deliveries every day in my convertible Mini with the roof down.
Fantastic.
Fun.
Well,
and I
look forward to buying some more mugs next time I'm in. I know the pink one I'm very after for my daughter. She's already asked me about it already. Okay, we're running out of time now, so we're just going to quickly scoot round for the pick of the punchline. So I'm going to start with you, Chris, if that's okay. Chris, what have you picked out from the punchline? We're very, very tight on time.
Okay, so really quick story this about redevelopment within Tewkesbury, the demolition of some buildings, retention of a Grade 2 listed brewery, and the creation of a microbrewery, restaurant and housing. And it's a lead-in, really, little bit of a plug for Tewkesbury Live that's taken place today over the weekend, and hopefully attending tomorrow. It's free bands. As you know, I love my music, and it's a free band festival taking place over the weekend across around 20 pubs and different venues in Tewkesbury, initially funded by the Build Better Market Town Fund from Gloucestershire County Council.
Okay, no, look forward to that. I absolutely love Tewkesbury, by the way, one of my favourite towns in the county. Thanks so much for that, Chris. Lynette, I'm going to go back over to you. What have you picked for us, please?
Yeah, so just a bit of a surprise and interesting that Hooray Recruitment Agency have been acquired by the Thomas Recruitment Group, which is based in Cardiff. So our local sort of Cheltenham ethical recruitment agency has been acquired. So I think it could open up further growth and opportunities, I'm sure, and I guess it's something that the owners wanted to take forward. So sort of wish them luck. But yeah, they're a very reputable recruitment company.
Yeah, no, congratulations to them. And not being funny, they absolutely work. They're cutting socks off those guys to get them, get their message out there and work really hard for their B Corp as well. Thank you for that. Claire, I'm going to go over to you and then finish with Alan. What have you picked out from the papers for pick of the punchline? Sorry.
Pick of the punchline for me is the growth hub in Stroud. So one of the things that Keir Starmer said in the lead up to the election was that people want success, not handouts. And I'm really interested in this concept. I'm hopefully meeting our MP today. I'm writing a book about it at the moment, about how Stroud could be a model for other towns of how enterprise can drive economic development, economic sustainability and growth, and actually community cohesion and this wonderful sense of place that we have in Stroud, such a vibrant town. So I'm really passionate about helping people to set up sustainable enterprises, financially sustainable and environmentally sustainable. And I also work as a high performance coach, working with women.
Okay. Thanks so much.
Yeah.
I'm agree with you, by the way. I absolutely love all the growth hubs. They are absolutely brilliant. I wish I had them when I was first started out. Alan, what's your pick of the punchlines, please?
I've gone with your video exclusive interview with Mark Hawthorne about him standing down as leader of Gloucestershire County Council after 14 years. And I think just worth noting what a period in time the last 14 years have been for local authorities and the challenges they faced. And Gloucestershire, compared to many others, has weathered those really quite effectively. So I just think that's worth marking and noting as you've done so well online.
Thank you very much. Yeah, 26 years he's been a councillor, started off as a very, very young chap. He was obviously leader of the Gloucester City Council as well as leader of the County Council. And he's gone through some very, very challenging times, as you can imagine, really. But I think he's left a very positive, lasting legacy. Unfortunately, that's all we've got time for today. I'd just like to thank my fantastic panel. Thank you guys for joining us this morning. To our wonderful sponsors, Hazelwood's Accountants and Business Advisors, and also for all of you for watching the show. If you like the show, please like, share and subscribe. And if you, what I was going to say, remember, it's all in the punchline every single day. Bye.